everyone. All right, let's see if I can. So, it's my view button. All right, so if we go to the, I'm going to keep checking in with you guys. If you go to the page that's the practice exam, you should be able to see, you guys were able to access the practice exam here. And then if you click on solutions, you can see the solutions. Okay. And okay. All right. So let's go back to what we want to do today, because I know you guys don't have a lot of time. So I want to start out by talking about monopoly. So I just want to call out a few things that you guys should be aware of. I graded the monopoly for the online students, and I took a look at the monopoly for the on-campus students. So I just kind of want to call out a few things that would be maybe helpful. So on monopoly, list, when you create a journal entry, list the debits first, then the credits. Okay, so let's take an example. If we were to go to a journal entry, and let's do one page. If I were to write a journal entry, and let's say it's for today, I'd say 10/18/22, and I want to write a journal entry for in Monopoly for passing go. Okay, so what's the journal entry for that? You can either call it out or put it in the chat. What's the journal entry for passing go?
Would that be go revenue?
Say it again, Aiden.
Go revenue.
Go revenue. Is it? Does and what else?
Cash debit.
Cash debit. Okay, so we would say cash, and let's just say, what is it? $200, and then go revenue would be 200. Oh, not 2,000. All right, you guys all see that? So debit to cash, credit to go revenue. We list the debit first. All right. Cash goes up with a debit. Go revenue also goes up with a debit, a credit. So both of these accounts increased. And if you wanted to put it, and remember for the exams, for my exams, do you have to put descriptions on the journal entries?
You don't.
You do not. Okay. For my exams, no journal entry descriptions are required, just in the interest of time. But for Monopoly, they were. Okay. I was going to put that there. Okay. Pass and go. All right. So what if you land on somebody else's property and you have to pay rent? What is the journal entry for that? Does cash go up or down?
Recording in progress.
Does cash go up or down?
It's going to go down, so that'll be the credit, and then the expense will be a debit. So we'll
And
list
what's the expense, Aiden?
rent expense.
Okay, so we pay rent, and then cash goes down. Okay. And I don't know what we paid. Those rents were pretty low. They were like $13. Tells you how old the game is. Paid rent, St. James, whatever it was. Okay. So my point is, you can see cash in both of these transactions. Because cash is a debit in the first transaction, it's listed first. In the second transaction, cash is a credit. Rent expense is the debit, so rent expense is listed first. So just be mindful of that. All right, the other point I wanted to make was, common journal entry errors. Okay, let's see if I can find some good ones. I saw one where students were just using the wrong account for when they passed go, they would debit salary, and that doesn't make sense at all. So to be aware of that. Oh, I got a bunch of good papers here. More good ones. So if you're buying property, that should be land. So here, let me give you a journal entry that was on the practice exam, I believe. Bought land, bought land for a building, cost, I don't know, we'll say $20,000. Put 5,000 down, signed a note for the balance. Okay. Bought land for a building. The cost was $20,000. You put 5,000 down. That means you paid 5,000 and signed a note for the balance, let's say to be paid in 3 months. Okay. So my first question on journal entries is always going to be, what happened to cash? Did cash go up or down? Was cash involved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cash is involved. Did cash go up or down?
Down.
Down.
5,000.
Good, down by 5,000. So can you see my journal entry form here?
Yeah,
So what's the journal entry here? We bought land. It cost 20,000.
land
Land.
increases debit 20,000,
Good,
and then cash credited 5,000, and then accounts payable for the remainder.
I'm just gonna
Credit.
write
Notes
down,
payable.
oh, go ahead. Which one?
Notes payable for 1,500.
Yeah, it's gonna be notes payable, Michaela, but the only reason we know that is the problem has to tell you they signed a note. If they didn't tell you anything and said they agreed to pay the rest in 30 days, yes, it would be accounts payable. They have to tell you they signed a note. Okay. And what's the notes payable amount?
15,000.
Yeah, and what if we made this, what if we expanded this problem and said balance with interest of 10%? What if we added that piece? What would you do?
Yeah, interest payable or interest expense? No, interest payable.
You would eventually, Aiden, but because this is the point in time where you've just signed the note and gotten the land, interest is a function of time, and there's no time that's gone by. So they don't owe any interest yet. After a month has gone by, that yes, they will owe 1 month of interest. But at the point of sale, they don't owe any interest because no time has gone by. Okay. All right. Trial balance should be in chart of account order. So we want to see the trial balance in the same order. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's a little bit small. This is our paper version where you have the assets. You don't say assets, you just list each individual account. And it goes cash, accounts receivable, land, building, equipment, rolling stock, accounts payable, common stock, retained earnings, the revenue accounts, and then the expense accounts, okay? If an account has a 0 balance, you don't list it on the trial balance. Even though you have that account in your chart of accounts, you only list it if it has a balance. Okay. And that's true for balance sheet and income statement true. If you have a revenue account that has no activity, you don't list it on the income statement. Okay. And classified balance sheet must have categories and subtotals. So let's take a quick look real quick at there's a great example of the classified balance sheet. My students, I gave you one in our course pack. My daytime students, I gave you one in our course pack. For all the rest of us, it's under chapter 2 in the under chapter 2 in Wiley Plus. And you're just going to come down here and say the classified balance sheet. And there it is. It's a little hard to read in my screen. Can you see it? Franklin Company.
Yeah,
Thank you, Michaela. You got current assets, list them all in the proper order. This could say debt investments, it could say stock investments, but you would have to know it's short term. So the problem would have to tell you. Then accounts receivable, notes, inventory, supplies, and so forth. Long-term investments, again, it has to tell you if the stock investment's long or short. And then real estate is always long-term investment. Property, plant, and equipment is land, building, equipment, could be things like furniture, because that's not something you expense. That's not something you write off. You use it, it has a longer life. Okay. And finally, intangible assets. So you need to be able to do the classified balance sheet. And then the asset side, it has all the categories. The liability side has only 2 categories, current and long-term. Be sure to put your subtotals. And then stockholders' equity is the same. And we have a question from Alan. Do we need to know definitions of accounts? Or do we only need to fill out the sheets and the statements? Alan, can you tell me what you're talking about when you say definitions of accounts?
He means like, do we need to explain like what an asset is, like what common stock is at any point on the test?
You need to know it, but I'm not testing you on it. And then filling out sheets and statements. Yeah, what that guy said. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, no problem.
Sheets and statements. I know what you mean by statements, income statement, retained earnings, and balance sheet. What do you mean by sheets? So you need to know how to do your statements. So that's similar to what's in your practice exam. Okay. All right. Go back to office hours. Okay, I'm putting my agenda up. So classified balance sheet. And please, there are 70 of you taking the exam tomorrow, and one group in the morning and one in the afternoon. And I do have different versions of the exam, but please write clearly. That's why we give you the extra time where you don't have to write a description. I have to grade a lot of these, and I want to make sure I can read it. Okay. All right. So that is kind of general stuff. And then let me go to this next real quick. So the company analysis project. Let's look at the calendar really quick here. Just going to pull up the calendar really fast. So we're starting after chapter 3, we're starting the share screen. We are starting the project. So I'm just going to put up one of the classes here. So CA3A is due on Friday night, and that is where you divide up the work for your contract. So how do you know how to divide up the work? You have to read the project instructions. So make sure you read those so that you're able to submit that on Friday. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the practice exam. Do you guys have any specific questions on the practice exam that you want to go over?
A bunch of people put some stuff in the chat.
Okay, all right, here we go. Let's see. Do we have to know? No, you do not have to know the free cash flow formula. Braden, how long should our response about trends in data be? Okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. Could we go over trend analysis? What statements and sheets is order important, since some aren't as important as others? Okay, let's come back to that one. That was a good one. So we'll do trend. Let's go back to liquidity order real quick. So let me bring up. Let me bring up that classified balance sheet again. Okay. So yes, in the classified balance sheet, order is important. So you need to know the order of this stuff. So cash is first because it's the most liquid asset. Debt investments, stock investments, short-term investments are things that we put our extra cash in because we don't want to leave it in a bank account. We want to try hopefully to make more interest on it. But if we run out of cash, that's the first thing we're going to liquidate and convert to cash. All right. Accounts receivable, we expect to collect it in 30 days. So it's next. Notes receivable usually has a longer time frame. Inventory, longer time frame. Supplies even longer, and prepaid insurance can be prepaid up to a year. So know the current assets. Property, plant, and equipment, the order, it's telling you what the order is: land, building, equipment. Intangible assets, I don't care about the order. Current liabilities, notes payable, then accounts payable, and then the rest, I don't care about the order. And long-term liabilities, usually it just put it in the order it's given. Okay. When we get to the income statement, there's no order, rhyme, or reason to the expense section. So don't worry about it. Just take it in the order I give it to you. For revenue, I would put the biggest one first. So if service revenue is first, or go revenue is biggest, put that one first. Okay. Okay, let's go to the.
I got a question
Sure.
about like balance sheets and all that. Are they going to be formatted like they are on the practice exam, where it's just like a table, and we like fill in like current assets and all that? Or do we have to, or do we not get any lines? And it's just like, oh, okay, it's gonna be like that.
No, it's actually going to be a blank piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
So it'll say, do the statements: income statement, retained earnings, and balance sheet.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Does it matter how neat it is if there's not going to be any lines and stuff?
As long as I can read it, Hamza. I mean, you might want to bring a ruler with you if you have trouble with lines. I actually have a lot of trouble with writing in a straight line. So.
All right, thanks.
You bet. Okay.
Can we get a full page for each of those things? Or for balance sheet and then income and retained earnings, that gets its own sheet.
Let's take a look. I don't remember. Hang on. We have. Can you see this? Income statement, retained earnings. And then, can you see that it just says balance sheet?
Okay.
So be sure to put your proper titles on it. There's 3-line titles. You guys remember what the 3 lines are? First line is?
Company name,
Second line is?
the statement,
Good. And the third line is?
the date.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's look at the trend analysis. So I want to keep it pretty simple at this point, and you're going to be using kind of the same logic when you do your paper. James, that's correct, yeah. And you're gonna use the same logic when you do your paper. So you're gonna be doing a lot of trend analysis for your paper. So something that, I don't know if you guys can see my board. Can you see my board?
Wait, for the statement, is
Yeah.
that just like for the month ended and then the date, and then under that is the date?
Correct. And then which one says for the month or the period ended? Which statement says that?
For the month ended,
Mhm.
uh,
Income statement, retain earnings statement.
Correct, Alexandra? Or do you go by Lou? I can't remember.
Alexandra.
Okay. And then so income statement and statement of retained earnings are for a period of time. Just think in terms of sales for the whole year. So
okay,
you wouldn't say what revenue you did today, you do it for the whole year. And then in balance sheet is at as of at a point in time. So you say as of December 31st.
okay, and so you said we do company title, right?
Mhm.
Then statement, and then date. For the date, is that just like the day we're doing this? Or is that like of what is said in the problem?
You'd say for the month ended, for the year ended, or you'd say as of, and then the date.
Okay, got it.
And Annika, you need to know trends. The test is only chapter 1, 2, and 3. It's not chapter 4. Okay. So can you see this cold water dairy here? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right, so this is actually Lululemon. There is no cold water dairy. So everybody know Lululemon? What do they make?
Mhm.
What do they
Clothing.
manufacture?
Athletic clothes.
Athletic wear. And ironically, the sales of athletic wear are huge and growing, but participation in club gym memberships is down, or is not growing. So we just wear them. We just like them because they're comfortable. All right. So when you're looking at trend analysis, and you've probably seen the solution, it's pretty simplistic. So come to the bottom. Oops, sorry. Instructions, discuss the trends in either. Okay. So one of the big reasons students lose points is because they may not read the question. I may ask you to list net sales and net income, but when it comes to the writing, I'm just going to have you pick one of them, not both. I want you to demonstrate that you know how to do a simple trend analysis. Okay. So your thesis statement is going to be a very simple statement. Let's break that down. And let's just put the solution side by side. Okay, so here's the don't do that. Here's the solution. Okay. And it's kind of small on my screen. Can you see both of these pages? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. So thesis statement can be, it has to tell me. So we're going to talk about total revenue. Remember, revenue means total income. It doesn't mean net income. It means total revenue, service revenue, sales revenue, whatever. At Lululemon, they call it total revenue. At Costco, they would call it merchandise sales, and then they would also call it membership sales. And they'd add those two together and they'd have total revenue. Okay. So your first statement can be very simple. Cold water dairy experienced significant improvement in the 3 years, 2011 to 2013. Okay. So basically that first statement has to say, is it favorable, unfavorable, or neutral? So favorable, improved. That's another word for favorable. Unfavorable, declined. And neutral is just neutral, okay? So we said that, we named the company, we made a conclusion, improvement, and we said when this happened, because you can't just say they experienced improvement, you got to set the context. Okay, one sentence down. Then we're going to talk about sales increased, and I'll talk about how we get that percent in 2012 compared to 2011. An increase of $289,000 and 135. I hope you guys can read this. Let's see. Okay. All right, so, and then we do it again. The company continued this improvement in 2013 with total revenue increasing 36.92%. Remember, I like those two decimals, or 369,519. Okay. So sentence number one, tell me if the trend is favorable, unfavorable, or neutral. Set the context. How many years are we talking about?
Do we have
And
to
then-
use
Go ahead.
the words favorable, unfavorable, and neutral?
No, you can use words that mean the same thing.
Okay.
So I would say improvement means the same thing as favorable. I would avoid words like increased and decreased, because when you get into analyzing ratios, sometimes lower is better. So I feel free to just say favorable, unfavorable, or neutral, and then you're not trying to come up with a lot of synonyms that might not work. Okay. So first sentence is your argument, your position rather. And then now we have evidence. And then finally, we have, we're looking at the evidence kind of holistically. The first year we grew 40.63%, but the third year, the second year we grew 40.63%, but the third year we grew slower. We still grew a lot. Most people, most companies would be happy with this, okay? So we add this sentence, we want to compare the growth rates. Well, the growth rates are slightly lower in 2013 compared to 2012. The company showed strong performance in the 3 years. So this last sentence, you're telling me you understand that the growth rate is slower, but it's still healthy. So basically, one sentence here, couple sentences here, and then a summary sentence to talk about the trend. Okay.
How would we, like, let's say I'm not sure what to do for the wording, and I just want to like stick to the use of favorable, unfavorable, and neutral. Can I get like an example of how we'd use those words?
Sure. So Coldwater Dairy's 3-year trend, 2011, 2013 was favorable.
Okay.
The trend was favorable, but you can't just say the trend was favorable. Tell me what company it is. Tell me the years, all of that. So you have to set the whole context. Okay. And then I did it for net income as well. Okay. So I know this writing style is pretty dry. I really get that, but I want you to understand how to do the basic argument with the evidence first. And then as you go on in your business classes, you can make it more interesting and pretty. But for right now, I want you to understand the argument. And the argument is, did it get better? Did it get worse? Is it neutral? And then the other piece of the argument is the evidence. I want percent evidence and I want net change, the dollars. So James is asking, how did you calculate the percent change? Okay, so let's do it. Okay. So here's the formula, James. You take this year minus last year divided by last year. Okay, so let's look at revenue again. In 2012, it's $1,839,000. In 2011, it's 711, 704. So you subtract those two and you get a growth of 289, 135. You take 289, 135, divide it by last year, 711, 704, and you get 40.63%. Growth rate is one of the more important percentages in business. We want to know, did it get bigger? Did it get smaller? Okay. So real simple example. This year, last year. Can you guys see that on the board? Is it within the camera site? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. What's a good salary? What's a good wage? $20? Is that good? Say, I just got a raise and they're paying me $20 an hour. Last year, they paid me $18 an hour. What is my growth rate? Well, you take the difference, 20 minus 18 divided by 18, or 2 divided by 18, or 1/9. And I'd have to put 1/9 in my calculator, and I think that's like 11%. Yeah. And it comes out 0. Oh. All right, that's the other point I got to make with you guys. When you come up with that decimal, to turn it into percentage, we don't just put a percent there. We have to multiply it by 100. So times 100 is going to be 11 point. So my pay raise was an 11% pay raise, 11.11% pay raise. Okay. Inflation's 8%, so that's good if I got a pay raise more than that. All right, Annika's asking, what percent would cause us to write the trend as neutral? Okay, you would be able to see that, Annika. So you'd be able to see that in the numbers. So you might see something like 711, 720, 725, and the growth rates would come out quite small. Okay. So you're just not seeing a lot of big numbers. Why do we put percent and numbers? Because if you start with really small numbers, the growth rate might look really big, but we also want to know how many dollars that translates into. Okay. Any questions on trends? You guys feel good about that? So this is preparing you for the paper, so you will need to know the trends and how you calculate them. All right, so let's just walk through the practice exam real quick, just because I think it's, want to make sure, and you guys, so be sure to take your account ID exams and do those practice exams. I went ahead and posted grades on the practice exam as 0, but you really have until tonight to finish the practice exam. So if you see a 0 there, go out and do it. It's only tiny points, but that's just so that I won't forget to grade it. And then the account ID, you can keep taking the account ID quizzes, but it'll be posted as a 0 now because they're due tonight. But I leave the account ID quizzes open for most of the rest of the quarter. Okay.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
I tried to get on the account ID quiz and it said that it was locked.
How many times did you take it, Hamza?
I didn't take it. I saw that I was able to take it today, and I decided to just do it today instead.
Let's check it. Okay, let me check it real quick. Account ID number 1. It does say that. Let me open it up for you. I don't know why I locked it.
Thank you.
All right. You can do it now. You should be able to do it now. Yeah. And it will always keep the highest score. Yeah. Kayla, you're saying trend analysis is for chapter 4. No, trend analysis will be on your test, just like it was on the practice exam. So what you saw with cold water dairy is gonna be on the practice exam as well. Okay.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Will that like essay problem or a trend problem sort of thing on the essay be like the same idea, like calculating the growth rate and then saying whether the trend, it's the same exact sort of thing?
It is the same exact
Okay.
thing because it's, that is trend analysis is analyzing the growth rate.
Okay, or net income.
Can be
Growth
for
too.
net, can be for net revenue, can be for net income. I'm not getting inside that income statement
Uh-huh.
or balance sheet. So I'm just talking about the, those
Okay.
two, those are, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you.
journal entries, know the 13 journal entries in chapter 3, know how to do your financial statements. I like to tell students to go to the back of the chapter because it does have the solutions back there. Go back to Wiley. And if we go back to chapter 3, 1, 2, 3, you can see that it says review and practice. And that's just a great place to just do some problems. And it gives you the solution right there, which is kind of nice. So we've got, let's see, do it, trial. I like the do it's because you can cover up the solution and then you can see the answer. And it says, give us normal balance, total the debit and credit columns, make a trial balance, and then here's your answer. And then here's another one. Here they give you a trial balance. It doesn't balance. And then they have a bunch of questions, but a bunch of clues that you can look up. Okay. All right, I'm going to read the chat. Is there anything else that's on the exam that was not on the practice? Yes, anything that was on the homework or anything that's in my PowerPoints is fair game to be on the exam. So the practice exam is, if you do a good job on the practice exam and you really memorize it, you will probably almost certainly get a C or slightly better on the exam. So just make sure you studied the PowerPoints, make sure you've studied the end of chapter homework, the homework, that sort of thing. Here we go. And then we've got practice multiple choice, and they have all the solutions at the bottom. And then we have practice brief exercises with solutions. I find this really helpful for students. So I would not recommend reading your book at this point. Hopefully you've already read it. I would focus on drill work, lots of drill. Know how to do the accounting equations that are in the here. Know how to do the accounting equations, be very familiar with that. Let's see, trend analysis. The account ID takes the highest score, yes. On the discussion, you said we did not have to do example 4 since it's part of chapter 4, so I was confused. Can you tell me what example 4 is, Kayla? Kayla, are you there?
Example 4, this is Annika, but example 4 was the trends question.
In the discussion, it says that example 4 will not be on the exam because it's from chapter 4. It says that in the description.
Let's take a look. On the practice exam, okay, let me double check it. Question 4, it is from chapter 4.
It says right there in the red.
I see it. Okay, hang on. I think I deleted it and I forgot to take that comment off. Okay. Yes, you do need this. So I will send a correction email out for that. You definitely need to do trend analysis. That's why you kept asking that question. Yeah. What I had originally was a question from chapter 4 and I deleted it, but I didn't delete the discussion description. Okay, so sorry for the confusion. Right, okay. How many points will be docked? Is this? How many points will be docked off if we do the correct statements for each sheet? What do you mean by sheets, Alan? You've used that term a few times.
I mean like balance sheets and like income statements, stuff like that.
Okay, so leave for each sheet off. If we do the correct statements, but we don't do it in order. So every account on the statement is worth a point. So you would lose a point for any account that's out of order. So let's say a balance sheet was 20 points and you had 3 accounts that were out of order, you get 17 for the balance sheet. All right, will the questions from the quizzes be helpful in studying for the exam? Yeah, but you could do the end of chapter ones too. What would be the top 3 things to Would you guys like me just to give you the exam right now and then you could just study it and do it tomorrow?
Yes, please.
I think the practice exam is good. You know, I think it's in alignment. I think it's very practical. It's not theory based, but you need to know account ID would be good to know because you have to know going forward what's your normal balances, debits and credits and all of that. So if you don't, we're going into chapter 4 and you have to be a little bit fast at being able to make a journal entry. So if I say to you, book this journal entry, you've already worked with cash, so you know if it goes up or down, whether it's a debit or credit. You don't have to sit there and ponder, is it a debit, is it a credit? So we're hoping you can get more familiarity with it. You're learning a language and really need you to learn the vocabulary and how it works. Okay, and Grace says, go through number 8.
I'm sorry, I should have asked that question a little better. I was talking a little bit more in regards to like the ratios and stuff that you had us doing, like some of the ratios in the Monopoly quiz and stuff like that. I'm more wondering how hard we're going to be quizzed on like memorizing certain
Got it.
ratios, stuff like that.
Hang on. Let's do that. You will be calculating a ratio on the exam, but I will give you the formula.
Thank you.
What about the earning per share?
And what's the question, Grace?
Are you gonna ask earning per share in the exam, or is it only gonna be the other ratios?
There will be a ratio on the exam and I'll give you the formula.
Okay.
Fair enough? Okay. So, Braden, I think that question was answered. Should we know the exact definitions of key terms? What's the answer to that? Did I answer it? I thought I did, but maybe not.
I think you did. It's like Alan asked, I think. If we need to know like the actual definition of accounts receivable, what is an asset, stuff like that.
And you
you said
said
no.
that, you said we're not gonna be tested on it, but we need to know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at an account and it says prepaid insurance, I'm not asking you to define it, but you need to know that it's a current asset and where it goes on the list. So, okay, Grace has asked that we go through question 8. Okay, if I can copy that.
I wanted to know that one too.
Let's see if I can. I'm going to take this and put it in Excel. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do that one. Let's see. No, I don't want that one. I want. No, I don't want that one. Let me bring up. Hang on just a sec. Okay. All right, can you see an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
No, I don't like that one. Never mind. Get another one. This is what I want. Okay. I'm gonna repeat the question here. Hopefully if I got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, during the year, Steel Corporation's total assets increased 25 and total liabilities decreased 15. During the same year, the investors invested an additional 30 and the company paid dividends of 15. What must the company's net income have been for 2017? So in this problem, we don't know anything about the beginning of the year. We don't know anything about the end of the year. All we know is during the year. Okay. Okay. Put some extra space here. Okay, so what we know is assets increased 25,000. So we'll put that here.
I just put her down because she was, whose is that? She was trying to eat that.
All right, and then, sorry, Michaela, I put you on mute, but if you need to speak, come on out again. All right, so there's their increase to assets of 25,000. Liabilities decreased 15,000. So we're going to show that as a negative. Okay. And I can get Excel to format so that it shows the brackets around it. Okay. Now, stockholders' equity, there's two accounts there. One of them is common stock, and the other one is retained earnings. Okay. So they're saying that same year, company investors invested an additional 15,000. So somebody give me the journal entry when investors invest in a company.
Cash, debit, and then common stock credit.
So that's an increase to common stock. So I'm going to put the additional 15,000 here.
Wait,
Okay.
15 or 30,000?
During the same year, 30, thanks. And paid dividends of 15. Okay, so dividends would be a deduction when we calculate retained earnings. So we're going to put that as a minus 15. Okay. All right. So whatever's on this side has to add up to 25,000 because assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. All right. So we know that we had additional stock. I'm just going to write this description. We know that the company paid dividends. And then the question is, what is net income? We don't know that one. Okay. That's our unknown. Okay. So 15 minus 15 plus 30 is 15. Minus another 15 is 0. So net income has to be what?
2,500,000.
Correct. Yeah. So you're just basically taking this group here and saying they have to add up to whatever the change in assets is because it has to balance. Okay. So the challenge with this problem is remembering that these things are all under stockholders' equity. This is additional stock that's going to impact the common stock account. Paying dividends is going to impact the retained earnings account. And of course, net income is going to impact retained earnings also. So because all of those are stockholders' equity, more investment increases stockholders' equity. Paying dividends decreases stockholders' equity, and net income will increase stockholders' equity.
Wait, how did you get 25,000 again
So it
for
told
net income?
it has to tell you, so on this side of the equation, it's 25, the left side, the asset side.
Mhm.
Okay. That means the total of all of these four numbers has to equal 25,000. So I just made a little formula and I said minus 15,000 plus 30,000 minus 15,000 plus X has to equal 25,000. Okay.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Okay, we are at almost past our time. Is there any last question?
So like
So-
in questions like that, where it just says total assets increased by 25,000, so we just immediately assume that 25,000 is the total assets or something? Because it doesn't say the beginning or anything.
Right, you don't need to know because all they're asking about is that one row. What is during the year, they're just talking about one row in the worksheet. They're saying this is during the year. And that has to come in balance. We don't care about beginning. We don't care about ending. We just want to know what happened during the year. So if you take here, you have a beginning balance, and then it's saying what is the ending balance. And then you have to use all of the beginning plus during the year and ending. Then you have to take it all into account.
I have another question.
Sure, Grace.
So when you do a statement from the trial balance, is the retained earning gonna be like, is it the one that we use for the beginning or the end?
It has to tell you. So in this case, this is began operations January 1, and all of these accounts are as of 12/31. So basically at the end of the year. But it has to tell you what retained earnings is, and the retained earnings here is as January 1.
Right. I mean, for example, number 5, it's the adjusted trial balance. It just shows on the debit and credit. So it just says retained earning. It doesn't say anything.
Here.
Yeah. So would I use the 17,000 as the beginning balance?
Yes, you would, and I'll tell you why. If you still have balances in dividends, revenue, and expense. And so you haven't calculated the ending balance yet, so long as you have those balances still in there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Because it won't balance unless you take all of that into account. All right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that so many of you came. I will record, this is recorded, so I will upload it so you can all access it as well.
Thank you.
So good luck. I will see you tomorrow.
Thanks
you.
so much.
You bet.
I just
Lisa,
had
are
one
you
question
staying
before you
around?
go.
Sure, go ahead.
So did you get the email from, I think I CC'd you, from Olympic College talking about the proctoring exam?
She's already ready to go. I don't know if you're not getting your emails, but she replied already this morning.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna email her back. I just got home from work and then I hopped on Zoom. So that was like the first thing I've done today.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'll email her back. Did it look okay? Like she said that the soonest they could do it is 1:45, but that wasn't on the like, I know there's certain times for the exams posted online, but does 1:45 still work?
Yeah, because you're within the window, Connor.
Okay.
Remember, we have the exam from 1 to 5 or 4:30, so you're in the window of that.
Okay,
Should be fine.
perfect.
Yeah,
Sweet. And should I time myself just like the exact same as it looks like people have an hour and 45-minute window of time. So should I time myself that long and then just stop
Yeah,
after
you
that
have a-
point?
yeah, I've given all those instructions to her, so she's the proctor, so you'll have 100 minutes to complete the exam.
Okay. Okay,
Sound
perfect.
good? Yeah, you should be fine. I mean, it might be a little bumpy this first time, but hopefully you'll go ahead and schedule your other exams right away with her. And for the November 9th and December 7th, so you can just schedule them all, and then all I'll do is just send the exams off with the instructions.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. I will email her right away and then I'll also talk to her about future exams.
It sounds good.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
You betcha. I'm glad it's working out.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Not that I'm excited for an exam, but I mean,
Why not?
I'm
It's fun.
prepared.
All righty. Take care.
Awesome. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey,
Yeah, before leaving, I also have another question. So like in the exam, will there be like multiple choice questions about the theory or like,
Oh, that question already came up, James.
oh, sorry then.
Yeah. Can somebody answer it?
what was the question again?
Like, will there be like multiple choice questions about the theory or something?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure somebody already asked that, but I think there's no like specific theories. You just kind of have to understand how things work. So I don't think she's going to be asking any direct theory questions if I understood.
So like nothing like the like full disclosure principle or ongoing concern or something like that?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
I think somebody's sticking around. Is it Lisa?
Yes, I can ask my question at the end though, because I
Oh.
have to like screen share and stuff like that.
No problem. Okay, I will see the rest of you later, and
Question.
have a study hard. Was there anybody else I was talking to? Was it Aiden I was going to talk to?
Yeah.
Did you want to talk privately?
It doesn't, I don't have to,